Hello, good evening, and welcome to Tuesday Night Live here in the Holding Block with me, OC Ejiofor. Tonight's show is all about procrastination. Now, I don't know how you feel about procrastination. I don't know how you feel about getting things done. I don't know if you're a super productive person, somebody who, as soon as you're given a task, you do it. I don't know if it's a case that maybe if someone else is giving you a task and there's a deadline, you do it. But if you're giving yourself a task to do, maybe you don't really stick to deadlines as such. Well, we're going to get into all of that tonight, and we're going to be talking to none other than Mr. Chris Cooper. He has been featured on ABC, CBS, NBC, and Fox. He is a two-time #1 best-selling author, and he is a lifestyle and procrastination expert. So we are very privileged to have him with us tonight. And if you have not yet heard of Chris Cooper, I'll forgive you. It's all right. We're here. Most of us are in the UK. I can forgive you for that. But you will get to know the man today, and we're going to have a look at some of his highlights to see exactly what we're going to be in for tonight.
Another edition, I will say an exciting and fun edition, of Chris Cooper TV. And I'm so excited to have you all with us today because we're going to talk about a question that I get quite a lot. Matter of fact, I've gotten this question probably the last couple of weeks, almost weekly. And that question is simply this. They say, Chris, hey, I know you're a coach. Hey, Chris, I know you're a speaker. Hey, I know you're a motivator. I know you're all these different trainer, an author, all these different types of things. But how in the heck, but they usually say hell, how in the hell do you actually stay motivated? Not only that, how do you get motivated? And then after getting motivated, how do you stay motivated? Well, guess what? I'm so excited that you asked this question. I'm so excited that you are giving me the opportunity to basically share that information with you today. So in this episode of Chris Cooper TV, that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about getting and staying motivated.
And here he is, the man himself, all the way from Atlanta. Am I correct?
That is correct.
Welcome to the show, Chris. I think it's ATL, right? ATL,
yeah,
is that a nickname? I'm getting it.
ATL down. That's what they say all the time.
Welcome. It's so great to have you. Thank you so much for spending time and joining us tonight. It's just a real privilege. How were you today? How were things for you today?
I'm wonderful. Of course, yesterday was a holiday for us here, so I did rest a little bit. I'm always working. I'm always doing stuff. So, but I feel great today. I've been excited about this for a couple of weeks now. So I do feel very honored and humbled to be with you and all of my friends on the other side of the pond today.
That's right. Yeah, I did see that the post you said my mates on the other side of the pond. I like that. Yeah. You did well. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. And the thing is, I'm really excited to introduce people to you because I know that you have a following in America and you're doing all the things I mentioned before. People can't get enough of your content, and I think that this is something that we definitely need over here. We need just some advice. We're going to be talking, picking your brain. Hopefully we'll be able to learn from you regarding procrastination, etc. But, before we get into all of that, just tell us a little bit about yourself, just a little bit about how you became who you are today.
Wow. How much time do you have? But no, I'm joking. But as you said, OC, I'm so excited to be here. I'm actually originally from the northeastern part of the United States, from Philadelphia.
That's right. Now, see, sorry, I'm interrupting you now. I don't usually do that, but I'll tell you what. When I read your website, you said in North Philadelphia, born and raised on the playground. You're there. Yeah. That's cool. I'm gonna let you carry on. You
gotta have fun with it, right? So, as I said, originally from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and my mother, I grew up in I guess the hard part of North Philly, actually, and my mother had me when she was very young. She was only 16. And my family was very adamant about the fact that I would grow up and become a statistic and wouldn't necessarily do anything. But by the grace of God, and so grateful to my mother, she made an intelligent decision. And she said that literally when she was carrying me, that God told her that I would grow up and do exactly what I'm doing right now, which is speaking life into the lives of individuals all across the world. Now, for me, I guess I won't say I have the quintessential North Philly, kid from the hood type of story, but I typically do. My biological father was not in my life from age 2 to 21. And I went through all of this rejection, not understanding why he didn't want me and why things were the way they were. So what I did was I threw myself into activities, and I realized later that what I was looking for was that fatherly affirmation in the form of praise from other people all across the world. So I threw myself into sports. I was really good at track and field. I ran the hurdles and all that kind of, and sprints and that type of stuff. I was really great in the classroom. Math and science were my thing. And my aunt introduced me to an organization that really literally changed my life, and a field that changed my life. And that was through the National Organization of Black Chemists and Chemical Engineers, as well as the National Society of Black Engineers. So literally that's what I did. I went to school. I was very fortunate to go to college on a full scholarship for math and science. I studied mathematics at Morehouse College and industrial engineering at Georgia Tech. And I was very fortunate to learn a lot very quickly along that journey. But I realized that as I was going through that journey, I was very fortunate, graduated with honors, got some great opportunities to work in corporate America. And I got my first job in consulting. And I chose consulting because I wanted to learn a lot about a lot of things in a short amount of time. And so I went to consulting, and that was great. And then guess what happens? I got laid off. September the 11th happened, if people remember when that happened. And everything, the whole world changed, much like it's changed now with this pandemic. And I felt myself, asking myself questions like, hey, I'm brand new, I'm young, I got these degrees. I mean, what am I going to do with my life? Like, I got, quote unquote, laid off, AKA fired, whatever you want to call it, from my first job. And I was really good at relationships. And I think that's very key. So I'm going to be dropping all kinds of nuggets today, guys. So I hope that you guys have your pen and paper and be dropping little things I learned along the way. But one thing, I was really good at relationships and managing those relationships. So although I chose to go to a different consulting firm, I kept in contact with the recruiters from previous firms that I didn't accept offers from. And I told them why I decided to go where I wanted to go. So lo and behold, when I got laid off, guess what I did? I called one of those recruiters that I had a relationship with. And I didn't burn the bridge, and it enabled me to actually get another role with the company you guys may have heard of called the Home Depot. And I worked at corporate for some time. I ran into some I guess, issues that people have in corporate America, the intimidation factor, the individuals wanting to steal your work. I mean, all kinds. I hit everything all at once, so that didn't work out. And then I ended up, my last corporate job actually was with a telecommunications company. And I was very fortunate. I mean, I got promoted 3 times in 18 months. I became their junior executive, and I did well. But I'm going to tell you, OC and everybody else, I was miserable because I was working 18-hour days, 6 days a week, and building someone else's dream. I'm a man of faith, and I know that God doesn't make mistakes, and He strategically places people and situations and opportunities in your path. And I went to church in Atlanta, and I heard this sermon that said, Peter, get out the boat. If you're familiar with the story of, Peter stepping out on the water and Jesus telling him to walk on the water, that kind of thing. And so I heard it in Atlanta. Then I went home to visit my family in Philadelphia. I heard the same message. I went to a men's conference in North Carolina. I heard the same message. And lo and behold, I finally got enough courage to say, you know what? I went to my boss at the time in telecom, and as I said, as a junior executive, I had a lot of responsibility, a lot of things working on, and my boss had quit twice, and I was dumped. All her stuff was dumped upon me, and so I knew I deserved to be compensated well for my time, for my talents, and for my abilities, and they weren't doing that. So I went to him with this great proposal about everything, about this is what I did and this is how I did it, and you told me to do this and I did this, and why don't I have this, this title and this raise that you've been saying I'm going to get? And he told me something very interesting. He said, "This is amazing, Chris." He said, "I've never seen anybody go into this much detail to vie for a promotion." And I said, "Yes, well, I believe that I deserve it." And I asked for a 10% increase in my salary. And he looked at me and he was like, I can't give you 10%. I said, "Well, how much can you give me?" He said 9.99. And so I'm looking, the math degree person, engineering degree person that I am, like, that's only 0.01%. So what's the problem? And he said, "Well, you know what, Chris? If I gave you that 10%, it will require me to go to the C-level executives. And you know what? I don't think this or you're that important." So as we joked about the beginning of this show, OC, I gave him the biggest piece up, A-town down. I am out of here because I understood my worth. And once again, that being coupled with the information I heard from the church services and all that kind of stuff, it gave me the courage to step out. And I was very strategic about it. I coach a lot of entrepreneurs and they always want to jump out there and just do some things. No, I was very strategic. I knew that I had an employable skill set. I knew that I could freelance some opportunities as I was building my business and my dream. And that's exactly what I did. I'm making the story short. I'm sorry, short term.
Don't apologize. Take your time. We're here to hear you.
I love it. Thank you. So I stepped out, and I knew I always had a passion for helping people. I was really good at technology. However, I was really good at the soft skills as well. And it was the soft skills that made the difference in my technology career. So when I stepped out of corporate America, I helped other individuals like myself that were kind of, I guess, double brained. You're not supposed to be creative and technical or logical. And, so I felt like I was an anomaly, and I felt like I could share my knowledge, my information, my skills, et cetera, with those individuals. So that led to me pursuing a career initially as a speaker. I started my expert career as a speaker. I had a great connection. I was young. I was 25 years old, right? So I had a great opportunity, 26 years old. So I had a great opportunity to connect with college students. They loved me. I looked like them. I wasn't that much far removed. I didn't have this little bit of gray. It was a great time. And I ended up working with an organization called the UNCF, the United Negro College Fund here in the States. And I became their career readiness expert on this tour called the Empower ME Tour, and that led to other things. And I wrote my first book called Achieve Your Dreams, and that worked out. And it just kind of, I invested in myself heavily. I understood that an investment in my formal education would get me a job, but an investment in my self-education would make me a fortune. And that's exactly what I did. So I kept investing in myself. I got coaches. I went to conferences, even conferences that I couldn't even afford to go to, and was trying to figure it out along the way. And then the speaking led to the coaching because I felt like speaking was awesome. But when you leave, you go back to the same situation that you had before you met me. I might make you feel good while we're in this session, but I wanted to give them tangible techniques and strategies that they could take with them. And I knew that I could implement that by a one-on-one relationship through coaching. And that spaced repetition and things that could really help people learn and grow and be challenged consistently. And so that opened up the door for coaching. And I became one of Tony Robbins' top elite peak performance and business results coaches, coached by his people. They did an amazing job with me. I became a success story. Then they asked me to come on board, and I couldn't say no. And the rest, I guess, is history. So from that point, the coaching, training, speaking, then I started doing live events, and I started to curate other experiences for other coaches and trainers and speakers. And I've just been really blessed. Now, it's been an up and down. I've seen every possible, valley experience that you can go through, but I've seen some mountaintops as well. And I learned so much along the way. So in a nutshell, that's kind of my story, and that's where I am today. I'll get into the family stuff and all that kind of stuff a little later. But that's how it started. I wanted to help people. I built my company on the belief that people are the world's hidden treasures, and now I get paid for living, and it's such a refreshing thing.
I'm going to test something out.
Yeah, go for it. Thank you.
Yes.
Look,
Thank you.
I'll do the champion.
Literally, as far as introductions go, that is right up there. I think on so many different levels. What you've just explained there, we can unbox it. That's like an Amazon gift that has boxes inside the box, that has boxes inside. Amazing. And I think that because I know that the people who follow me, the people who are in the honing block, they are people who are either at the beginning of the entrepreneur journey, or they're about to make that jump. And I think the powerful part of that story is when you had the signs, right? I'm a man of faith too, so I know what it's like when you have those different signs. Sometimes you don't even emotionally feel ready for those signs.
Not at all.
But they come, and you're faced with making this decision to actually make that transition. And I know that you kind of, you mentioned it in passing as part of the story, but could you just go into a little bit more detail, just in terms of just the whole emotional side of when you can say, right, okay, that's enough signs, and then, okay, now I know I need to do, but how do I know what to do? Just that transition point, because I think those tips from you and your experience will definitely help a lot of people in my audience.
Excellent. Well, thank you. A great question. And I think that really comes down to a matter of congruency. And I think congruency is so critically important. What I've learned is this: whether you realize it or not, success is 80% psychology and only 20% mechanics. I'm gonna say that again: 80% psychology, 20% mechanics. Chris, what are you saying? What do you mean by psychology? What I'm saying is that, especially when you are faced with critical decisions or pivot points in your life, you always have to think about your personal psychology, your psyche. All that stuff is made up of three things. It's made up of your physiology, how you move your body, how you breathe, your posture, all that kind of stuff. What you focus on and what you believe, and the language that you use. I'm gonna say that again: your physiology, what you focus on and what you believe, and the language that you use. So OC, so when you're talking about people that are at that critical transition, so you have to master the emotional part of that as well. Yes, it's not going to necessarily always feel good. Yes, you might feel like you're jumping before you're ready. But that's why I said in my story that I was very strategic, because my thing was this: I realized life is short. And for me, I realized worst case scenario, I can always go back and get a job. If this entrepreneurship thing is a bust, I can know that I have employable skills. So therefore I could go back and do that. But however, what I realized is this, and one of my coaches and friends said this to me. He says, the longer that you wait to do the things that you decide to do, the more you neglect and starve the individuals that you were created to serve. And I said, oh my gosh. And that's so big. So when I talk to people all the time, when they're thinking about things, and I tell you, people are waiting on you. People are looking for you. If you have a gift, if you have something that's going to unlock what they have inside, people are waiting for you. And the longer that you wait, guess what? I'm gonna use a word that you probably don't like: the more selfish that you're being. And I don't perceive myself as a selfish individual. And why would I hold out on giving the gift that is critically essential? Now, am I saying that you quit your job tomorrow? No. What I'm saying is this: if you're in transition, and I have a lot of people that I help that are in transition, there's a strategic way to get out there. Yes, I got the signs from God. I heard it 3 times from 3 different people. Yes, my senior executive put me in a position where I had to understand and own my worth. And sometimes if you don't do what you're supposed to do, God will put you in a situation where he will make the decision for you. Because guess what? You will get fired. You will get laid off. You will be in a position, and then you'll be thinking about, oh my God, look at all this time that I've wasted. Look at all these things that I should have, could have, would have, all over myself, right? Instead of just really activating those things. But I think it's important to manage. You have to be, I guess, what I call a me master of managing your emotions and thinking about the best case scenario and even the worst case scenario. When people are stepping out, another thing I say is this: you don't leave your job until it's costing you money to be there. Did you hear what I said? You do not leave your job as an entrepreneur until it's costing you money to ultimately be there. So if you feel like if you make, I don't know, let's say $8,000 a month, and you're missing out on $80,000 worth of business that you could be, that is guaranteed had you not been in that profession, that might be an opportunity for you to step out. But understand this, and entrepreneurs need to really hear this: things that cost you money are hobbies. Do you hear me? If something is costing you money, it's a hobby. It's not until it begins to generate income that it becomes a business. So I think it's very important that we understand the complexity of that. The other thing is this: I don't advise individuals to just jump out there, not necessarily nilly-willy, but you need to have some type of guide, a coach, an accountability partner, somebody to help walk you through that particular process. Because I also believe this: success leaves clues. And if you do what successful people do, you can also have what they have, and you can position yourself up strategically to make a difference. So I hope that answers your question. I know that's some of the nuggets that I think about and that I deal with whenever individuals are going through that. And you have to ask yourself, I love this. I want to come here all the time. I love it. Look, people joke with me all the time. One of my, if you know the 5 love languages, mine is words of affirmation. So when I hear all that clapping and stuff, I'm super happy. So, so thanks for that.
That's fantastic. Chris, again, so much from what you've said. It's so powerful. I do hope if you're watching this, please take notes, because there are so many vital things in there. You could potentially write at least a chapter on some of those small little nuggets that you've just said there. Success leaves clues. Yes, it does.
Yes.
It's only a hobby until it starts making money.
Correct.
And this is the thing, you see, there are some people who they sell goods, but in terms of sales, they feel like they're doing well because they're actually selling things. But when they actually weigh up how much they're spending in comparison to how much they're making,
Correct.
it becomes very clear that actually it's not a business, it's actually a hobby. You're
spending your time. It's an expensive hobby, OC, sometimes. It's an expensive hobby sometimes. Like, it's like, gosh, it's costing me this. And I really want to be clear. I don't want to discourage individuals from going after their dream. Believe me, I'm Mr. Execute Your Passion. I'm Mr. GSD. I'm Mr. all those types of things. So I really believe in taking risks, right? And stepping out there. But I think that there's a way that you can take a calculated risk. And you can put, and maybe that's the engineer and the mathematician and the analytical side in me. But definitely, I believe you can structure it the proper way to get everything that you desire and that you want. But betting on yourself, I think, is the biggest bet. People talk about this pandemic every day. The best investment anybody can make right now is, guess what? It's in YOU. Period.
100%. Most definitely. And this is the thing, I think. When it comes to, I guess, that next thing, right, in terms of uncertainty, when things aren't very clear, a lot of people kind of do the default thing, that's to buy the next book, watch the next episode, etc. But quite often, at the end of it, the action that they've taken doesn't match up to the input that they've had. So I think the investment in themselves is so important. But on top of that, it's actually having that plan, like you said, the engineering side, it's kind of analytical based plan to say, I am learning this for this reason. That's investing in yourself.
Absolutely.
And because what happens is people just read a book because their friend told them this book is good.
Right.
And they read it, but actually it doesn't impact them. Actually, we kind of need to be a bit more critical when it comes to self-help and personal development. Actually, is this in line with what I'm trying to do? But anyway, I digress. You get me fired up.
No. That is a critical point, because I know I've been in this personal development space for almost 2 decades. Excuse me. So I've seen everybody. I've seen the conferences, and they're running in the back of the room with their credit cards, and they're buying this program and that program and that, and they're all over the place, right? And they're not implementing it. See, people always say, "Oh, I just need that $1 million idea. Let me get that $1 million idea. It's going to change everything." Let me explain something to you. There are no $1 million ideas. There's only $1 million execution. I'm going to say it again. There are no $1 million ideas. It's only $1 million execution. I can take any idea, and if I execute it the proper way, then I can make it a $1 million execution strategy, and it can become a real, $1 million idea. But I think so many times, like I said, people are always chasing. They feel like they don't have. And like you said, OC, you hit it on the target. Uncertainty creates chaos for so many individuals. And because they're uncertain, they're like sheep to the slaughter, just like squirrel. Where do I go, right? And that's why I'm really big on the focus. And you heard me say this when I was on Paul's show, that we gotta focus. F is for follow, O is for one, C is for course, U is for until, and S is for successful. We got to follow one course until successful. The most important people in the world, the most, I won't say important, I'm sorry, the most successful individuals in the world, that's exactly what they do. They focus. They figure out exactly what it is that they want. Then they understand why they want it. And then they ask themselves some questions. And those questions are so critical. And those questions they ask is, okay, who's done this before me, right? Number 2, who do I have on my team around me? And then number 3, which I think is the most important, and I think this is where you're headed, who do I need to become to attract what I desire and what I really want in my life? And that's the real personal development. I know, I'm sorry, I digressed down another path, but I think that is exactly what it is. And I lost the light, I'm sorry.
That's cool. Listen, I have. It's so funny. I have 2 lights on me, but the way that the camera is angled, it looks like I'm in a dark room. Is it?
Yeah.
we don't worry about that. It's the content that matters. What you're sharing is absolute gold. This is it. Okay. all of those things are kind of, I guess, the foundations, right? We need to get those foundations in place so that when you move, your movement is effective.
Correct.
When it comes to procrastination, now you're procrastination coach.
Yes.
What is it that you find the most challenging to do? So that thing that actually, when you need to, you need to do it, and you've got a book out there. You'll tell other people, but you're struggling to do it yourself. Have you got one of those? What's the biggest pain point in terms of your own personal productivity?
Boy. Okay, so let me explain something. So I probably didn't introduce myself properly today. My name is Chris, and I'm a recovering professional procrastinator. Let me say it again. My name is Chris, and I am a recovering professional procrastinator. And I know that sounds crazy. Like, what do you mean? Like, no, I was the one and I think that a lot of us procrastinate because we lie to ourselves. We tell ourselves things like, oh, you don't procrastinate, Chris. You just work best under pressure. Oh, see, you're not procrastinating. You're just a perfectionist. We give ourselves all of these outs. And because we give ourselves all of these outs, it creates somewhat of a pattern. And the pattern that we do is, we put ourselves in a pattern that does not serve us, that it just doesn't serve us well. And I'm so excited, when I think about procrastination, because that was the thing that was holding me back. I had all these great plans, all these great ideas, all that engineering stuff in me. But for whatever reason, I would always cop out. And there's reasons why we procrastinate. Fear's a big one, right? Not feeling like I'm enough, not feeling like I'm ready, not feeling like I have everything that I need, not feeling that my product or my service will be bought, or consumed by individuals, not feeling that I'm really needed or wanted or desired, like all these things play into it. So it's kind of a mental game when it comes to procrastination. But the first thing I think that people need to do is just admit you're a procrastinator. Admit that we all do it. And I really battle with a lot of overachievers because overachievers say, Chris, I'm not a procrastinator. I work best under pressure, and you can't tell me that I don't. And I challenge them, and I get into some heated debate sometimes. And I say, okay, yes, you may be that, right? You may be that type of individual. You may be that type of person. But let me ask you something. Do you really work best under pressure, or are your values and what you pride yourself on so high, and the standards you have for yourself, that you can't let yourself down in those situations? So it's not so much that you work best under pressure, it's that the pressure creates a situation where you have to own and accept and say, hey, if I don't do this the right way, if I don't make this happen, then there's going to be an issue, there's going to be a problem. My name is on the line. My reputation is going to be tarnished. Because as you know, it's like the music industry. You're only as good as your last hit, baby. You're only as good as you could have done. You could have knocked out the park 1,000,000 times. But people will always remember. We have short-term memory. We'll always remember the last thing that you ultimately did. So when it comes to procrastination, you got to admit that you're a procrastinator. The second thing you got to do is you got to get some type of help. And like I said, maybe it's the fear, maybe it's disappointment, maybe it's laziness, maybe it's a lack of. I'll share this with you if I may, and I'm going to break this down. Procrastination, I think, is a root. I consider it to be a disease. And I feel like action is the actual cure. Okay, I'm gonna say it again. I believe that procrastination is a disease, but action is ultimately the cure. And what I've learned is this. I've studied a lot of the world's most, I guess, influential people and all that kind of stuff. And what I've learned is that most of us, we don't necessarily get what we want for a couple of reasons. Number one, most times we don't get what we want because we don't know what the heck we want in the first place. We're unclear. There's a lack of clarity. We don't know what we want in the first place. Number two, and it's still 1A or 1B, I guess 1B would be that we don't know why we want what we want. Right? We think we want to make $1 million, but why do we want to make $1 million? We think we want to be a speaker, coach, trainer, author, but why do we want to be a speaker, author, coach, et cetera, expert, influencer, whatever you want to call it, whatever they're calling it these days, right? So so most people don't get what they want, number one, because they don't know what they want and why they want it. Number two reason why people don't get what they want, and this is also a root of procrastination, is that they don't have a proven tool or path or strategy to get them to where they ultimately want to be. Notice what I said. I was very strategic with my language. I said proven tools, tactics, and strategies to get them to where they ultimately want to be. So if you don't have a roadmap, if you don't have a map, you feel like any road will get you there. Well, and any road will take you anywhere and not where you want to be. And the third thing I'll say is this. So number one, once again, the reason people don't get what they want, they don't know what they want and why they want it. Number two, it's because they don't have a proven, set of tools, strategies, and techniques to get there. But the third reason is this, and I think this is huge. There is an incongruence in their core beliefs. There's an incongruence between what they want, what they feel, and what they believe. I'm going to say it again. There's an incongruence. I want to make $1 million, but I feel as though I don't have all the resources to do that, and I really don't believe in myself enough to make sure that I make it happen. So I know I'm talking about reasons why people don't get what they want, but really these are also the core reasons why we procrastinate, right? You procrastinate because you don't know what you really want. You don't know why you want it. You procrastinate why? Because you don't have the proven tools or strategies or a roadmap or a plan or a coach or a pathway forward to make that happen. You procrastinate because you're unclear. It's not registering in your head between what you want, what you feel, and what you believe. It's all over the place. So all of these reasons, yes, stack on the fact that you're a perfectionist. Stack on the fact that you believe that you work best under pressure. Stack on all the extra additional lies and outs and things that you give yourself, and that's how you find yourself in that position. So that's kind of the core reason about why we procrastinate.
I really do hope people are taking notes on this, because, in terms of self-analysis, that emotional side that you said, I think this is key. All of those things that you've just addressed there, they are key. When people don't really see themselves for who they really are, they move forward and they inevitably fail. Inevitably. Because, like you said, one of those things catches up with them. Mm-hmm. And it is the hindering point. It's the stopping point. It's the sticking point that they can't get past. Right. And until it's addressed, mm-hmm. it will always end up being that one thing that they've started and have never finished. I know this from experience as well.
Look, as do I, right? And you sweep it under the rug, and you know, and I think that the people that, and I know we're so similar, and our tribes are similar, and the people that are that connect with us on that level. We all have the same issues, we all have the same types of problems, the same type of struggles, the same type of opportunities, right? And I think it's clear what you just said was so important. I hope that people really heard that. Not being honest with ourselves, not really owning it, making ourselves, guess what? Believing that life is happening to us instead of for us. Like it's all about, like I said, people don't understand how powerful this is, and I think our minds are so amazing. I believe, and this is just my personal belief, I think that the good Lord literally, he wired us all for success. He wired us from the beginning of civilization. He wired us for success. But society has systematically programmed us to fear. And the way that they do that is through making us afraid, making us think, what if this didn't happen? Really understand, making us understand that we're only utilizing that much of our true potential. And just really kind of playing off both of our natural mind and our subconscious mind at the same time. And as you know, our subconscious mind doesn't know right from wrong. My subconscious mind can tell me that I'm a Caucasian Brit. I'm a 6'5" Caucasian Brit, and that's what I'll be, right? But it will believe that, and I will act as such. However, in reality, I'm not that guy, right? So I think that it's just the power. Like, I'm really big on, like, I'm what they say considered to be certified in what they consider to be PR coaching and not public relations. It's the psychological results-based coaching. Understanding that psychology, as I said earlier, 80% psychology, 20% mechanics, that's success. So understanding if you get the psychological foundation, the psychology of it done, man, I have tools out the wazoo. I can get you there. The tools are easy. That's the easy part. But getting the mind right, working on you, on this, the most important real estate on the planet is right here, in between these two ears. That's the most important real estate in the world. And making sure that we're feeding it with the proper information to allow us, as I say, to have that $1 million execution, because it's not about the idea.
Fantastic. And look at this. More affirmation. I'm going to post this up and I'm going to play this. The two go hand in hand. Big shout out to that answer. Not sure which accent the comment is in, but I'll say it in British.
It works.
That's right. again, there are so many points that were made we can dwell on. I think my next question is kind of in line with something you've mentioned already, but it's to do with motivation. And my question is, because I know that in your videos you talk about motivation. I've watched your videos, so I know kind of what you're about to say to a certain degree. But I think just for people that are out there, you talked about the congruency of the different aspects of how, if it's not aligned, people won't go forward. Let's paint a scenario. Somebody has every single one of those things aligned. They know what they want. They feel that they can achieve it, and they know exactly what they want to achieve. But they wake up one morning and they're just not up to it. They're feeling like, you know what, not today. Just not today. Do you feel that motivation plays a big part in procrastination? In terms of like, does a person in that scenario, do they just need to kind of motivate themselves, have a look at their vision board and just get out there? What's your answer to that?
Oh, yes. Oh, great question. Okay, so as you know, you see my videos and stuff. So I am unconventional when it comes to motivation. Okay. I believe that motivation is very external. I believe that inspiration is more important because that's inside. So let me break this down. People always ask me, Chris, how do I get motivated? How do I stay motivated? Blah, 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 blah. Let me explain something to you really quickly. There's only two things on the planet that motivate you: pleasure or pain. That's it. I don't have a big, long answer. It's either pleasure or pain. You will do more to get pleasure or to run away from pain. The decision is up to you. So when individuals come to me and they're procrastinating and they're not doing what they want to do, and I use this example. Can I tell you a little quick story real fast, OC? So
100%.
So there's this story that I'll never forget, and I love this story. And I heard this back in my direct sales days. And there was a little boy, probably about 8 years old, and he lived in the States, and he lived in one of the southern states and kind of, country and all that kind of great stuff. And he used to walk along this dirt road to school every day. And every time he would go to school, he would pass this house. And this house had an older gentleman, like a grandfather type of age. And this grandfather would be rocking in his rocking chair, sitting back there, right? And there was a dog on the porch, and the dog would howl every day. Ow, ow. I'm not a good dog, don't get on me. But, so every day when the little boy would go to school, he would hear the dog howling. When he would come back home the same day, he would hear it howl. And a few weeks goes by, and the little boy just stops one day. He says, "Excuse me, sir." And the old man has a little pipe, and he's like, "Yes, sonny?" He's like, "Well, every day I come by here, I hear your dog howling. Is everything okay? I mean, what's up with him?" And the old man looks, and he he smokes his pipe, and he says, "You know what?" He's like, he's sitting on a nail. And the little boy, 8, 9 years old, full of energy, full of light, full of common sense, says, "Well, if he's sitting on a nail, why doesn't he just get up?" And the old man sits back. He rocks a little bit more, takes another puff of his pipe, and he says, "You know what, sonny? I guess it doesn't hurt bad enough yet." And see, what I realize in that situation is that is us. We are that dog. We're that dog on that nail. And I don't know what your nail is out there today, guys. I don't know if it's your job, if it's a relationship, if it's a situation, whatever. But whatever that nail, see, the thing about pain is this. When you first experience pain, guess what? Ow, whoo, you sit on the nail, whoo, right? You pop up immediately because it's a sharp pain. But what happens is, guess what? Life happens. And what happens is things are compounded and they build upon it. And then eventually that pain that was once sharp now becomes blunt and it becomes dull. And when it's dull, you just deal with it. You're just getting through. You're accepting this is life. Oh, I guess this is the way it's going to be. And you begin to your body literally, just like your butt jumps up when it initially feels it. The longer you sit on it, your body will adapt. Your butt will adjust, but it will adjust to that pain, and you'll be okay with it. So the question I always have for individuals when it comes to this whole motivation thing is does it hurt bad enough yet? See, it hurt bad enough for me when I stepped out of corporate America. I heard the message over and over again. I heard this man that had given literally almost my dang life for. They said all these accolades. They said how great I was and how wonderful I was. All this stuff. I've given everything I possibly could. And they came back and basically spit in my face and said, you're not worth a conversation. And it wasn't even just about my pride. It was self-worth at that particular point. And I had to make an informed decision. And I had already been thinking about it, but I had to make an informed decision and make a decision that, you know what, enough is enough. I am hurting way too long. I've hurt for way too long. The pain is unbearable, so I've got to make a change. Something has got to change. Even if it don't work, something has to be different. Something's got to change. And I think that's where a lot of us find ourselves. So when you think about the motivation, when you think about, I'm telling you, and ironically, guess what? Most of us, the majority of people will do more to run away from pain and to avoid pain than to really go toward pleasure. That's why people stay in relationships too long. That's why people stay on jobs too long. Because guess what? The pain of really, even the pursuit of the excellence is not enough. But they have to literally be running away from something that's going to be, cancer, death, something horrible has to happen in order to make a change. If you notice, most individuals always have that strategic experience, right? That painful, that bottom of the pit type of thing that really changed everything. It wasn't until they hit rock bottom. And I'm not saying you have to hit rock bottom, but what I'm saying is that you have to understand that. So back to your original question, OC. I know I went down a path, but back to your original question. I'm more of a fan of inspiration because I feel like inspiration is internal. It's that fire that burns inside of you. And guess what? That's going to keep you going. Guess what? Even after the feeling is gone. Because guess what? Motivation is emotional. I feel motivated. Right? I feel. That's emotions. And as we know, emotions can change just like my light went off and come back on like a switch. You can change them. Emotions go on and off, on and off, on and off. So you got to be able to master that. And so I'm really a fan of more so inspiration versus motivation, because at the end of the day, only thing that's going to motivate you is pleasure or pain. And so whoever's out there, like I said, I don't know what your nail is. I don't know what your nail is. I don't know what you're going for. But I hope that I was sitting here today to be a messenger, to ask you that one simple question. Write it down. Does it hurt bad enough yet?
Does it hurt bad enough? Do you know what, Chris? If we speak about nothing else today, I think that is a real major takeaway for anybody that is watching this, because it's like you said, we get used to situations. I've never shared my story. In fact, I'm probably missing a trick here, because everything about a brand or etc., is based around a story. But my story is very similar. It is very similar. Like the world got ripped out from underneath me, and it caused me to think, no, something has to change. And that feeling really does resonate me when you know your own personal worth. Your own personal worth. And then the realization that, hold on a second, my own success is not in my hands. Actually, there are people who can tell me when I'm worth what it is they think I'm worth. Actually, you're not worth that yet. Why don't you wait till next year? You're not really worth that much. I'll give you this much. And when that happened to me, I just, do you know what? it is very different, very true.
And that's a real conversation with yourself, right? But that's that people always use this. And I hate the cliche statements. Oh, you got to be real, get real, whatever. But no, I think it's not only getting honest, right? Getting honest. And one of the mantras or incantations I do with a lot of my clients is I need them to understand this, and I'll share it with you and your audience, is that whether you realize it or not, you're worthy. And you deserve everything that you desire. And when you own that, when you say I'm worthy and I deserve what I desire, it just gives you a whole nother level of self-worth, of acknowledgement, of understanding that it's okay. It's okay. It's okay to be me. It's okay to want the things that I want. It's okay to go down this path. And I think that a lot of time in our lives, we're always taught to ask for permission. Please, someone tell me that I should do this. And sometimes, and God is like, well, look, you say, I'm waiting on you. I've been waiting on you. You're taking too long. You could have had this 15 years ago. You decided to stay there. You decided to wait. and you use this myriad of fear and procrastination and wearing the mask and pretending and going along with the status quo and not rocking the boat, all these things that we're taught and that we then actually assimilated into believing. And that's why I talk about the thing about society has programmed us to fail. Because if we really understood who we really are, that we're created in God's image, that we're powerful, that we own this, that we really can be and do and have everything that we desire, everything that we want, and that we're worthy and we deserve it. My God. Oh, boy, you're about to make me jump around here.
Oh my goodness me! There's a fire, and it is lighting up inside me right now, because there's so many things you said that are very true. I'll come back to one of them in a second. I'll deal with what you've just said just now, because actually, as a believer as well, from a biblical perspective, actually, when man was created, they were told to have dominion.
Correct.
So that is
correct.
Core principle.
Right.
And this is why people want to conquer mountains. They want to conquer the seas. They want to explore areas. They want to discover.
Fears,
That's right. It's in every single person. I think that what we have is situations, circumstances, things that we would say are reasons, but they kind of are excuses that stifle that. And like you said, when the pain gets enough, you realize very quickly, actually, there's something in you that needs to come out. And this is why I have those sessions, Grow Your Potential. It's all about taking action. It's all about taking action. And one of the other points that you mentioned before, in terms of that pain point, we can mention so many people. I mean, you think of Chris Gardner from The Pursuit of Happiness.
Yes,
when you think of Steve Jobs getting fired from his own company. It's always this place where you can read an autobiography of somebody and you want the success that comes at the end, but you're not willing to go through all of the hard, difficult times. But we don't realize it was those difficult times that were really the driving force behind the success. You can't have one without the other.
Absolutely. And it makes you, it's like you don't know my story. Like that song, many people don't. They don't know. But what I've learned is that, and I think in our communities specifically, we got to share. We got to be honest. We got to stop. I joke and I say this all the time about the fact that, I live in Atlanta, and I joke. I say it's the land of the fake, the phony, the fake, the flaunting, and the phony sometimes, right? Because they show you these lifestyles and these experiences, and they drive these cars and have these homes, and sometimes all of that stuff it looks good, right? It looks good. It looks like everybody's doing it, but everybody's not. So I think that we have to really begin to have these real heart-to-hearts, these dialogues, especially among Black men. That's just me. I'm really passionate about Black men and our development. And to say, hey, I hurt too. Hey, I've been through that situation too. And it's okay. I did a thing to my list, I think maybe a week ago, about mental health and stuff. And this pandemic is really weighing on a lot of individuals. And I had to say to quite a few people that were calling me and different stuff. And I said, guess what, brother? Guess what, sister? It's okay to not be okay. Did you get that? Nobody says that. It's okay to not be okay sometimes. It's okay to be a work in progress. It's okay to not hit all the check marks on the list. But what's not okay is to stay in that situation and not make a change and not make something different. And that's, guess what? To your point, Osi, that's where the motivation and the inspiration hits. It's not okay to stay there. It's okay to be there, but it's not okay to stay there.
Very, 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 very true. Thank you so much for sharing that. And the what you said about the realness and actually having those types of conversations, I think that's one of the biggest things that stuck out to me, because naturally I was watching Better with Paul, and I typed my question in. You never know, it actually got posed, and you all answered my question, and it really, really moved me when you gave your answer, because it was raw, it was real, it was vulnerable. And I think it was refreshing for me to hear that, because a lot of people, when they're in certain positions like yourself, they can show the best side of everything all the time, and they can show that they have it all together. But you were quite vulnerable, and that had a bigger impact on me than you could possibly imagine. And just to give people a bit of a background, I was asking about work-life balance. and how you balance being very busy with being a family man. You know, I have 3 children, I have a wife, and you shared what you shared, and maybe you can get into a bit of what you shared later in your answer. But I'll tell you this, Chris, because of your answer, I didn't go to bed that night before I sat down my whole family and I showed them everything that I'm doing. Because obviously we're in lockdown, I'm in my office space when I'm working. And I said, this is what Daddy's doing. This is all the things that Daddy's doing. And it was an amazing experience for me, because it was like everybody was now on the same side. We're all on the same team. It wasn't Daddy's doing work, you know, and nobody really gets what he's doing. So, you know, I think just based on that vulnerability, the realness, feel free to share what you shared if you wanted to. But what do you feel is kind of the most common mistake people make when it comes to the area of work-life balance and really having that focus? Yes, I'm doing it now. They've kind of shaken off procrastination, but you know, how do people get that balance?
Okay, so thank you once again, and I'm going to tell you this story that I'm about to share. I just actually begun sharing that in the last year, I would say. And to your point, OC, it has literally connected me to so many individuals at such a raw and personal level. So what OC is alluding to is that I gave my story about my career. So as I said, I've been coaching, training, and speaking now for a decade and a half. I've had the mountaintop experiences, and I've had the valley experiences. But the biggest valley experience of my life happened as I was building my business. And unfortunately, at the time, my family, specifically my wife at the time, felt completely neglected. She felt as though that my business and even my children came before her. And I had to really take a strong look at myself in the mirror. Because Chris Cooper was always this Superman. He's this figure. He was this, you know, he was up on a pedestal. He was always changing people's lives and touching people's lives and helping them or whatever and communicating. And my wife at the time said to me, she said, it's amazing that you can communicate to everybody else in the world, but you can't communicate to me. And when I talk about a dagger to the heart type of experience, and we went through the coaching, the counseling, and we went through all that kind of stuff. And unfortunately, it didn't work out, and we ended up getting a divorce. And I'll jump to the good part. We're like best friends all over again. Our lives are great. Our kids, we have 2 amazing boys. They are 100% well adapted and superseding. Check them out on YouTube and on LinkedIn and Facebook. They are thriving, and I'm so grateful. But what I realized is that I felt yes, she was right. I ended up putting my boys in my business because my favorite job in the world was being a dad. And it always is. It always has and always will be. I am a dad's dad. I love being a father. Even the way I coach, they say it's often like, Daddy Chris, here comes Daddy Chris. When it comes to people, because I treat them like that. But one of the things that really hit me when I was going through that experience, and when she said what she said to me, and it was raw and it was real and it was honest. And I justified putting the business and the boys before her because of the fact that I felt as though I was wrong. Because I felt like I go out here and I save the world and I do so much for everybody else, and I come home and you're not happy. You're not accepting of what I'm doing. You don't even. And what I realized, and this is what OC just talked about what he did with his family. I never really shared with her the big vision. I never really shared with her and the kids why Daddy was working so hard, why I was grinding. In my head, like, you should know, you should understand, you should respect, you should appreciate everything that I'm doing. I'm going hard. I'm going hard for us. But in that situation, I missed the biggest gift that I think we can give to anybody at any time ever. And I hope that you guys are giving me this gift right now. It's your authentic presence. See, being in the moment with the individual, because guess what? My ex-wife was right. She was right. I was there physically. I was there in spirit, quote unquote, but I wasn't there emotionally. because I was always thinking about what else I had to do, what my next move was, how I was going to make this money, how I was going to change their lives, how I was going to, and I was really operating off of my own pain. I didn't want to, I grew up in poverty. I grew up in the hood. I grew up not having things, and I didn't want my kids or my wife or my family to experience those things. So I threw myself into my work. So like she said, she hated my business because my business was my mistress. My business was my mistress because I put everything into it, right? And then after my business being my mistress, then I'm putting everything else into the kids. And she's like, well, what about me? I'm left here. What about me? And all she really wanted was my authentic presence and understanding that I was there. So when you think about this whole work-life balance thing, let me tell you something. I believe that work-life balance is a misnomer. I don't think you'll ever really, quote unquote, get it. There's always going to be times as something goes up, something else is going to go down. That's just the natural balance of life. There's no yin without no yang. There has to be somewhat of a balance. So when you think about balance, you can't really balance it. So sometimes relationship might be up here, and sometimes business might be here, and then sometimes business might be here, relationship might be. But the art of it, right? Because let me tell you something. There's a science to achievement. I can give you a business plan. I can give you a foolproof thing, and I can say, do this, do that, do that. There's a science to achievement. But check this out. There's an art to fulfillment. And I think that's what most of us are looking. Because art is different. You can look at this painting behind me and you can see something. And I can see something completely different, even though we're looking at the same painting. Why? Because it's art. And when it comes to being fulfilled, there has to be an art. So when you think about work-life balance, quote unquote, and when you think about the biggest gift, as I said, and I will sing this from the mountaintop, the biggest gift that we can give to anybody, guys, anybody, is your authentic presence. Let them know that I see you, I hear you, I love you, I got you. And guess what? It's not about me, it's about us.
Amazing. It literally, I can't thank you enough, because like you said, you've only been sharing this for the past year, and it's the type of information, it's very personal. It's not something that you have to share, but I believe there's going to be so much fruit as you continue to share that story, because there's so many people that are learning the hard way, and not understanding that difference. And I wrote it down because it's very powerful. There's a science to success, but there's an art to fulfillment. I think that is amazing. I think that's amazing. Because like you said, there's core principles in place. You just follow those principles, you can become successful.
Yes.
But to be fulfilled, it's an art. That's different.
It's totally different. And I think that, people always come to me, I want to make this amount of money. I want to do this, or I want to do that. And that's why I ask them, well, what do you really want it for? Because most times they're not chasing money. They're chasing lifestyle. They're chasing what the money is going to enable them to do. They're chasing, guess what they want? They want freedom. They want autonomy. They want to live, right? That is so much more than a dollar figure. Yes, you can be a multimillionaire and be miserable. You can have access to all of the money in the world. And this is just me, I believe money is a magnifier. If you were a jerk before you got the money, you're going to be a bigger jerk with the money. If you were a nice, caring, giving person before you have money, you're going to be even that more benevolent and so amazing when you have money. So I look at money just as a magnifier, right? It's just a magnifier of who you really are. And I think that when you own that and when you understand the reasons and fulfillment, like I said, there's an art to it. Oh God, there's an art to fulfillment. And I think that so many of us, we miss that, right? Because we know that, I'll give you this real fast. There's a formula when it comes to happiness, right? I know it sounds like, what you mean? The movie Pursuit of Happiness, like what does that look like? Okay, so I'm breaking it down. BP equals LC, or LC equals BP. LC equals BP. And this is what I get my clients. I'm breaking it down for y'all to feel led in this moment. So basically, when your life conditions are equivalent to your BP, your blueprint, what you expected your life to be, you'll be happy. You'll be very happy. You'll be ecstatic when your life conditions, your fruit, matches the effort and stuff that you ultimately put into it, and where you thought you would be. But let me tell you, a lot of us are unhappy. Most people are unhappy because there's a big X in the equation. Because guess what? Your life conditions are not equivalent to what your blueprint. You said you was going to do this by 40, this by 50, this by that. Your relationship was supposed to be like this. You're supposed to have this amount of kids, this amount of money in the bank. Da, da, da. You had all of these stuff, all this blueprint stuff that you built up on top of stuff, on top of stuff, on top of stuff. And your life is just not matching up. Corona, pandemic, boom, comes in, levels everything, changes everything for everybody forever. Your life conditions doesn't equal the blueprint. So what I know, and this is the mathematician in me, you only have 3 options. When your life conditions are not equivalent to your blueprint, you can either change your life conditions to match that blueprint, or you can change that blueprint to match your life conditions, or what I recommend, you change both. And I think that's when we talk about the art of fulfillment and the secret of happiness, it's about changing both. It's about changing your life conditions and changing your blueprint, what you expect of yourself, what you expect of others, and allowing them and allowing kind of an organic flow, allowing things to come together almost symmetrically, I would say, in order to ensure that you're able to do some awesome and incredible things. And guess what? Not only do great things, but enjoy it. And be there for the ride. No, every day is not going to be sunny. No, everything's not going to be great all the time. But when you're committed, when you're in, and when you're on that continual process, as I call the power of CANI, constant and never-ending improvement. When you're constantly trying to improve, you're constantly being better. You're constantly asking yourself that question that I said earlier: who do I need to become? Not to chase after what I want, but to literally attract. Boom, 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 boom. Attract. That you happen to be in the right place at the right time. And more importantly, you be the right person. Because they told us a lot. They said, Chris, you just got to be in the right place at the right time. Poppycock. That's not true. You have to be not only in the right place at the right time, you got to be the right person. And the only way you become the right person is that by asking yourself that question daily. Who do I need to become to attract what I really want in my life? Who do I need to become? Who do I need to, where do I need to invest? Where do I need to go? Who do I need to get connected with? Who do I need to read? What do I have to do in order to get the things that I desire and that I ultimately want in my life? And that's when you'll be fulfilled. That's when you'll have that, you've mastered that science to achievement. You know what to do. But there's an art to fulfillment, and that success and that happiness will come ultimately from realigning your blueprint and realigning your life conditions so that way they can be.
Absolutely amazing. I'll tell you what, maybe I should monetize this session. It's like I'm giving the $1 million ideas that when executed the right way will become the $1 million execution. Yeah, this is gold. Like this is absolute quality, and I really do appreciate you sharing it. And I appreciate all the comments of everybody who's been watching it. People have been posting comments. If you have any questions for Chris, I'm going to be asking maybe one or two more questions to Chris. So in the meantime, have a think. If you have any questions regarding your own procrastination or trying to combat procrastination, type them in the comments and I will pose them to Chris in a few minutes. We're being open tonight, guys, so there's no time to be shy, no time to be afraid. Nobody's perfect. We're just going to be real and raw, and then you'll be able to get your questions answered as well. So, Chris, what I would like to ask you next, just before we bring things to the public comments, is, in terms of procrastination and kind of, I guess, work ethic in a sense, they say that the early bird catches the worm. Now, what do you say to people who they work really hard, they work well, but they're just not good at getting up early? Is it good that they work hard, or are they procrastinating by getting up late? Should they, and we hear about, the people are sleeping till 4 a.m. these days, and getting up before the crack of dawn. There's all these things that are thrown out there as a way to be more productive. What would you have to say to people like that? People like me, because I am not a morning person. My wife is a morning person.
Gotcha.
As soon as the lights outside, she's up. For me, I roll over.
I understand. So great question, man. And like I said, I'm unconventional as well, right? So you probably understand what I'm about to say. So I believe this. I don't believe it's necessarily the time of day that it's done. It's just the fact that it gets done. I'll say that again. I don't think it matters the time of day that it gets done. It's just a matter of the fact that it gets done. All right, so what am I saying, Chris? What I'm saying is this. Yes, you can get up early. Yes, you can do that kind of stuff. I'm not a morning person either. I usually hop if I have a speaking engagement or something, if I have to be somewhere, yes. But if I don't have to, I'm not going to. I'm being honest, guys. Sorry. But I do know that a lot of the experts will tell you, get up at 4, do this, whatever. My thing is this, yourself. You know when you're the most creative. Me, I am a night owl. I think I was born literally at 2:55 in the morning, a.m. on a Sunday. So I came into the world at an obscure time. And I know that for me, late nights is when I go. When the kids are asleep, when I'm able to when I'm able to turn everything down, I'm able to really go. That is my zen. That is my creative place. That's when I'm able to create the most. That's when I'm able to do the things that I want to do. That's the way that I'm able to make some things happen and ultimately, structure things out. And that's when I am my most creative in the evenings, in the witching hour, as they call it, or what have you. That's when I go. So I am big on not necessarily, imposing my beliefs on other individuals. When you're most effective. When you feel most productive. If you're most productive in the morning, you need to get up early and make it happen. If you're most productive at night, you need to stay up a little bit later. So, but once again, I'm a fan of it not necessarily mattering when you do it during the day. It's just the fact that you do it during the day. One of the tools that I use with my clients it involves a thing I learned from Tony Robbins in regard to the system called the RPM system. And the RPM system is it's results-focused, purpose-driven, massive action plan, or the rapid planning method. And in it, you chart out and you chunk different parts of your day and you map things out. And I love the flexibility in it because it enables individuals to really, make some incredible and awesome things happen. But you're getting it done, but maybe it doesn't have to be at 8 o'clock. If I do it at 11 o'clock, it's not going to hurt me as long as I got it done within that particular day. And it gives people kind of flexibility. See, me, I'm unconventional. I don't like a lot of rules. I'm the rule breaker. See, I'm Mr. GSD. Get sugar, honey, iced tea done. So I'm a rabble rouser. I'm a little bit different, right? But in my difference, I understand the importance of execution and making things happen. And as I would say, getting sugar, honey, iced tea done. So, long answer to your question. I don't believe that if you sleep a little later, you're going to miss out on every opportunity, because once again, that goes to your faith. God says what's for you is going to be for you. So whether you get it at 8 a.m. or whether you get it at 11 p.m., as long as you get it in that time frame you're supposed to get it, I feel like you should.
Chris, again, that is amazing. Where's my sound effects going? I need to get my sound effects back. Absolutely amazing. Chris, we're going to bring it to a close here, but I'd like to thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much for everything that you shared tonight.
Mm-hmm.
I know that if you're watching this, surely you have appreciated what Chris has shared with us tonight. Feel free to leave a comment and also share this with somebody else that might help them in their situation, somebody who they've got more in them, they've got potential. They just kind of need to hone their skills. They need to hone their craft. This is why I call it the honing block. This is a place where a honing block, in the ancient days, we would all have swords, right? And you would need to go to a honing block to sharpen that sword so that it's more effective. And this is what we need to do. We need to sharpen our tools and be able to grow more effectively. So, guys, thank you. I'm saying on behalf of everybody, Chris, thank you so much.
I forgot one thing. I'm sorry. I know I have to say this, if I may. The one thing I know we did, we wanted to. I never really went into how you basically GSD. So let me do that real quick. I'll make it very simple.
Yeah, go ahead.
To overcome procrastination, how you make it happen. I'm gonna make it very simple, guys. I know people always ask. I'm gonna make it very simple and bite-sized. I believe that there's kind of just 6 basic steps to ultimately, as I would say, getting sugar honey iced tea done or stopping procrastination, right? Number 1, You have to understand that a small step is still a step. So many times in life, what we want to do is we want to beat ourselves up. We're our own worst critics, and we don't want to really own the fact. Yes, you may not lose 100 pounds overnight, but guess what? You lost 10 pounds in the last month. Clap, clap, clap. Pat yourself on the back. That's a good job, right? So you got to understand that you got to take some type of action and some type of step. So a small step is still a step. So that's number one. Number two, you got to make plans. We've heard the old adage before. Failing to plan is planning to fail. So you got to have some type of plan ultimately in place. Number three, you got to follow through. This is the thing that kills most of us. 99.99999% of us will not follow through. And I'm going to tell you how you follow through. Number four is part of it. Guess what? You got to tell somebody. And not just anybody. What I'm saying is you got to find an accountability, find a coach, find somebody that's going to hold you accountable. If you're trying to stop, lying, smoking, drinking, cussing, etc., don't be with your friend that does the same things that you don't need to do. That's not who your accountability partner is. You need to find somebody that's a little bit better, quote unquote, than you in that particular area, so you can learn. And so those positive things can ultimately, work on you, right, and really fix some things up. The next thing you got to have. Oh, this is big. I hate the word deadlines. Dead is so morbid. It's just terrible. The root word of deadline is dead. So I believe in a due date. And as a father of two boys, OC's a father as well. And we know any woman that anybody has ever met, anytime they have a baby, there's a due date. But the interesting thing about a due date is this. Sometimes it's early, sometimes it's late, sometimes it's on time. But guess what? The baby is coming. So I like to give people enough flexibility and give yourself enough grace to understand that you have to have a due date, not necessarily a deadline. Meaning that it may shift here and there, but it's going to ultimately help you get beyond this procrastination. And the last piece I think is very important. You got to keep that goal in sight. You got to look at that. You got to own it. You got to believe it. Whatever you want to move past, if you want to move past, the block of not getting your business, off the floor, or taking your business to the next level, and learn that online marketing strategy, or taking more clients, or whatever it is, you got to see it. You got to put your goals in front of you. I have stickies up above my desk on the other side over there that have I want this amount of money per month. I have to see it. I got to see it, because once you see it, you can believe it and you can conceive it, and it will ultimately be able to be birthed. So when it comes to really kind of GSD, or, avoiding procrastination, a small step is still a step. You got to ultimately make plans. You got to follow through. You got to tell someone or tell somebody. You have to have a due date, and you got to keep that goal ultimately in sight. And of course, I would love to definitely be your partner in God and help you through that process. I've helped, thousands of, actually probably more than thousands, hundreds of thousands of people, I think, at this point, on 5 different continents all across the world. So that I wanted to make sure that I know we had a couple of questions.
Well, Steffi,
we can't forget that one.
That's definitely well added in, because I must have skipped over that one. But that's fantastic.
I got you. We're in this together.
This is it. Practical tips for anybody out there that wanted to know how to get their to-do list done, everything that they need to do. Thank you so much for sharing that. And can I say, I need to announce this. Chris so generously, and he just slipped this to me during this session.
I did. I decided.
But you are in for a treat. If you type this in to a browser, gsdwithchris.com, what Chris is offering you now is this. He is offering you a 45-minute complimentary session with him. Now, I did not expect that. That is so generous of you, Chris, but that is absolutely amazing. I would say take advantage of this. The website is there, gsdwithchris.com. Type that in. Book a session. There are times, I'm assuming there's limited times, limited spaces, yes? That's right. So the first come, first serve. So jump on that, guys. Jump on that, and you can pick Chris's brain one-to-one. That is amazing. Thank you so much for that opportunity. I'm going to leave up the link there at the bottom of the screen for anybody who's watching. So, Chris, again, thank you. Let me play my sound effect. Let me make it a bit louder. Do it again. Yeah. Absolutely fantastic. I really appreciate your time for joining us all the way from Atlanta. I know it's in the afternoon over there.
Yes.
But I really appreciate it. I'm just going to sign out the show, and I'm sure we're going to stay in touch. And
any way that I can be of assistance. I'm at
love
Chris
to have
Cooper
you back
Live on everything. You can find me. Type in Chris Cooper Live. You'll find me on any platform.
There we go. So yeah, you see the scrolling banner at the bottom. Follow him on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at Chris Cooper Live, or on LinkedIn at Chris Cooper, and just get those sessions booked. I cannot stress that is absolutely amazing. Get your one-to-one session, and you can ask the questions that you want to ask to be able to be the most productive that you can be. So thank you so much, Chris. I'm going to come back to you in a minute, but for now I'm going to introduce the competition for last week's competition. In fact, let me get some music on the background. I like my new music system. Let me get this on here. So last week we had our competition, and we have a winner from last week's competition. And I'd like to say congratulations to, I think it's Gabriele Gesualdo. I hope I pronounced that right. He's from Italy. So congratulations to you. You have won a £20 Amazon gift voucher that'll be on its way to you now, plus a financial review courtesy of AME Finance Academy. So guys, the next competition for this week is going to be available from tomorrow. So go to our website, edgewayedu.com and /competitions. You can see it there scrolling at the bottom of the screen. Join in for next week's competition, and you could be the lucky winner of a £20 Amazon gift voucher as well as a financial review. So guys, jump on the competition again. Congratulations to Gabriele Gesualdo from Italy, who won last week. Oh my goodness me, guys, I'm going to watch this session again, and I was in it. I was asking the questions, but there was so much value in this session today. Absolutely amazing. Please share this, like it, send it to everybody that you know, and just because we want people to be helped. If we're more productive, we grow together, and that is the main thing in life. It's not about who has the most money, but let's accomplish, let's grow, let's succeed together. Next week, I'm going to be having the pleasure of interviewing Mr. Rodney Hines. Now, if you don't know Rodney Hines, he is both a journalist and a chief editor at The Voice newspaper. And he has worked as a sports writer for many, many years, and he's won a Lifetime Achievement Award. We're going to be talking about, I guess, in a sense, entrepreneurship. Actually, you're in a job, but you've got innovative ideas that you could grow. And actually, we're going to be focused on the legacy. So not just how to make money, but how to have an impact that will last for generations. We have got a generation growing up now of people who they will not buy things unless they know there are values behind that company. Have you thought about that as an entrepreneur? Have you thought about the legacy that you're going to leave? And have you thought about the impact that your business is going to have? Well, we're going to talk about all of that next week when I interview Rodney Hines. So tune in next week at the same time here in the Honing Block on Tuesday Night Live. And don't forget, on Thursday at 3 p.m. we have Forex 101. For those of you who want to know about what it means to make money on the foreign exchange markets, we break it down, we make it simple. Tune in the Honing Block, and that's at 3 p.m. on Thursday. So, guys, thank you so much for watching. I'm so looking forward to the sessions that we have coming up. Have a blessed evening and a good night. Take care, and we'll see you soon.